Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Starladder Season 8, Day 27 coverage here on Beyond the Summit. We're gonna get pumped up because we had a long break. Chris, I know you're hungry. Do you have any energy left for this one last game, SSD versus RoX.KiS, my friend?
Do I ever not have energy for Dota, my friend? I think you know
know
me too well at this point to ask that question.
Yeah, hungry bellies. Oh, jeez. I'm so embarrassed. You know,
I was Dota.
I was playing Tetris right before we started, and I decided to put it on stream, and of course, I messed up within like 10 seconds and just closed it. So embarrassing. I soiled my good name in the Tetris world, Chris. It's over.
Now everyone knows you are not super pro #1 Tetris master of the world.
I had the facade going so well. Oh boy. So, alright, amongst all of that deliberation, there was quite the scandal about who could stand in and who couldn't and what's happening here. Whew. So, to recap, we're finally in this game, and part of the reason this was such a big deal is because this is a really big game for RoX.KiS. They are on the cusp of qualifying for the top 4. And if they lose this one, it's pretty grim that they'll be able to do that. That will take them to 5 losses. Right now, they only have 4. And if they win this one, they should be safe, secured, safe and sound up into that top 4 situation. Part of that frustration was that SSD, a team that isn't even really a team, has the power to knock them out. And if they take their seat instead of them, well, it's sort of just like throwing it in the trash can because SSD isn't going to participate in the LAN anyway. So I can understand some of the frustration, and of course flames turned into flames, somebody pulled out the flamethrower, and then, oh man, hydro pumps were going everywhere. It was madness in the lobby. So, glad we're finally here, and RoX.KiS, they came to play. Now, they do not have a stand-in. That is Go Black. He was trolling a little bit, and that is actually Go Black. So it is the 5 members of RoX, and stand-in-wise for SSD, we see a new one. We've got Zai now in for Sing Sing. It is Bone 7. And I believe the Aubrey Plaza is Pylai Die. I think it is.
I believe the point is that Zai is from their original roster, is he not? Am I misremembering?
I think that might be.
I think that's true. The point is that they are not allowed to play with more than 2 stand-ins unless the other team agrees.
Yes,
and that was part of the drama going on.
Yeah.
Whether or not they had Zai.
Ipso de facto is if Zai was on call this whole time, then why was he not just playing, and why were you using Speed Gaming stand-ins? That was part of where things started to slide down that slide of just terribleness of flame. Ugh. It was fun though. I kind of had a little bit of fun.
I had my popcorn. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, what are you gonna do? Shit happens. So, now let's talk about this draft a little bit. Things looking fairly standard. We see that Treant first ban from SSD, of course, one of Go Black's signature heroes. We saw that earlier today, actually. They did first pick the Bristleback and to grab that OD. There's the Razor ban. No big surprise there. But SSD, they first picked the Nature's Prophet, and then they grabbed themselves the Luna. Not too often we see Luna second picked. She's been a very popular hero choice, but usually one that makes it into that 3rd, 4th kind of picking slot. Seeing her in these initial picks is a little bit different.
Yeah, I think you could get something a little more versatile, but I don't have a problem with picking up a strong carry right there. I mean, and she's definitely one of the most popular carries right now, and I think she has one of the better win rates as well. I know her statistics, for example, in WPC Ace were exceptional. There's a nice little infographic we got, I think today, or maybe it was a day or 2 ago, that showed that Luna was in fact one of the standout dominating heroes in there. Very highly picked and with a very high net win rate. Yeah. So, doesn't bother me,
Yeah, it's true. And one of the things about Luna, and I apologize for that small bout of typing there, one of the things about Luna that makes her a little bit more of a risky second pick is she's a hero that needs a lot of space, and she can put out a lot of damage early on, but she's also a little bit susceptible to ganks. Doesn't really have a great escape mechanism or anything like that, and we've seen teams sometimes try and draft a really aggressive roster, some sort of aggressive tri-lane to make that Luna's life hell, and if she gets a slow start, her recovery can be somewhat slow, especially if you have map control and stacked Ancients aren't an option, and one of the reasons teams like to wait a little bit longer to grab that hard carry, but you're absolutely right. She has been in true form. Na'Vi have been running a lot of Luna to a pretty high degree of success. And not surprised to see her making a showing here. Now, Nyx Assassin going to be picked up. We haven't seen him yet today. Kind of curious where he's going to be positioned, if he'll be support, if he'll be in that mid role.
I
Not a
find it
ban.
likely as not that they'll put him in mid. In general, when I see Nyx picked into an OD, people want to get him the levels so that he can get the points into mana burn. So even though you're sacrificing some farm because you know he's not going to actually stop the OD, you can put him there and just kind of get the levels, get the mana burn up, and then in the mid game he'll be very, very strong against the hero, even if he's under farmed. It just means that you won't have a really great tempo controller in your mid lane because he will not quite have the gold he wants.
Is it really ipso facto, not de facto?
I don't recall exactly how you used the phrase, so I can't answer that for you.
Yeah, maybe I used it wrong. Oh, that's a bummer. But yeah, you're right. Nyx is a tool in the arsenal of OD. Now, I wonder if SSD are going to grab something a little more conscious to try and deal with that OD, like Kunkka, like perhaps the Dragon Knight, some of those kind of sort of counters that don't really counter him but can at least lane against him. Viper actually could be a pretty solid option for SSD here with their final pick if they wanted to do that.
That's definitely true. I mean, we'll have to see what RoX thinks it's going to be. You'll see whether or not they think they're going to be facing the Nyx when they drop their last ban. If they think the Nyx is going to be support, obviously they'll ban out one of those possible mid heroes. But I would wager on the Nyx just going mid. And it's not because I think it's particularly better one way or the other, but just that's generally what I see when I see the Nyx picked against the OD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Still a bit of open-endedness to that SSD draft. They've got the Visage now to go with that Nyx if they want them in the support role, or they could just grab another support. Crystal Maiden somehow has made it all the way through this draft and has yet to be banned out. She very well may be one of the final bans from either of these teams. Really, she would work with either of these rosters. Shadow Demon going to be banned out by SSD, and I think that definitely makes sense. That could be very scary if mixed with the Abaddon and Mirana in a tri-lane. We've seen that set up. And also the OD and Shadow Demon on the same team. We've also seen that a few times before, and that double banish style ability can be irritating. Defensively and aggressively can make for great setups and disengages.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I mean, having a couple of seconds of invulnerability on demand is pretty darn solid, but I think you hit the nail on the head when you said they're afraid of that Mirana SD combo. They don't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah, and Bane also been banned out, so they really are trying to limit the setup they can get with that Mirana. Now, RoX.KiS, it kind of depends on what they want to pick here. I think a Crystal Maiden final ban might make sense. They're going to go with the Enchantress, and yep, there it is, CM going to be picked. So you are certainly right, my friend. Nyx Assassin going to be in the mid lane against the OD. So yeah, I like the CM final pick. Makes a lot of sense. A pretty well-rounded draft here for SSD.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Crystal Maiden, very, very strong support. And like you said, her even making it that far is pretty uncommon. It gives them a little bit of extra interrupt in case they need to stop TPs or anything. Gives them the extra slow to help Luna chase people down. Overall, just a very balanced pick. And giving that Nyx a little bit of extra mana regen in the mid, so he can occasionally get off a mana burn, can get something spammed out, will be reasonably helpful.
Yep, definitely. So the question remaining is, what do RoX.KiS do with this final pick? Look at how many supports were banned out by SSD. 4 of their 5 bans. Wow, the Treant, Bane, Dazzle, and Shadow Demon. So not a lot of options left for RoX.KiS. They could grab something like a Lion if they wanted a bit of crowd control. Lina certainly could work for him here, though they don't have a lot of setup. Vengeful Spirit could be an option as well. No, they're just going to go for Rubik. And how could I have forgotten about the Rubik? Of course, Telekinesis mixed with the Sacred Arrow makes for pretty easy early game devastation.
Well, I mean, it's not really that long of a lift. You got to be really, really ready with the arrow, and you can reposition them into it if you're really, really good on the Rubik. But, you know, Rubik just in general is so versatile. He can do so many wonderful things. There's almost always something worth stealing. I mean, Soul Assumption, Grave Chill, Familiars, all of Visage's spells are amazing. Generally, if you can get your hands on the Lucent Beam or the Eclipse, I mean, the Eclipse obviously is fantastic, but the Lucent Beam is also a really, really good nuke, just for somebody who has the mana to spam it. Any of Nyx's spells, any of CM's spells, every single spell in this game is something very, very worthwhile to have on a Rubik. There's nothing that's just kind of a dead steal, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely right about that. So we'll see how this fares. Interesting drafts on both sides. And let's introduce our rosters. On our Radiant side, we do have RoX.KiS. Look at that. The good manner, good luck, have fun after all that drama. I love it. And Yol is also a Dazzle player, so double props right there. Biz going to be playing on the Bristleback down here in the safe lane. Looks like mid, it will be Scandal playing on the Outworld Devourer. Going up top will be Sedoy on the Mirana with that cute 80s hairdo. We've got Go Black here. I'm about 90% sure that is Go Black on the Abaddon. And, of course, Yol going to be on the Rubik here as they migrate their way down to the bottom lane. On the Dire side, we do have super strong dinosaurs, super speedy discs, whatever you want to call them. They've got a mix of stand-ins here. I'm Zai, technically not a stand-in. He is part of their original roster who is sort of playing the role of a stand-in. It's a very weird system that we have set up for ourselves here. So it will be Zai, nonetheless, the real Zai. In the mid, it will be Arise playing on the Nyx Assassin to try and tango with that OD. Up top, stand-in Bone7 from Speed Gaming, going to be on the Luna. He will be joined by his friend, stand-in Pylai Dai on that Crystal Maiden. And, of course, Come With Me will be supporting on the Visage, also stationed up here in the top lane.
And I got to give a little bit to RoX.KiS. I just think the advantage of the experience distribution they're going to get is going to be superior. I don't think the Murano will be easy to take down, thanks to the fact that she has the Abaddon right there. Got the shield ready to go, as he just showed off. And I think the fact that they're going to be getting somewhat better experience on their supports, thanks to the fact they're not doing the tri-lane, will give them a little bit of an edge going into the mid-game, presuming that they do well in the other lanes, which I feel like they should. Scandal should do pretty well against the Nyx until the mana burn gets higher level, although he is already getting burned away pretty reasonably. I guess, actually, ever since the change, I never really considered it, but ever since the change where you can't get mana off Buckler or Tranquils or anything like that, that mana burn going to be much, much more significant in keeping the OD down in mid.
Yeah, the problem is now Nyx Assassin completely out of mana. Scandal is as well, but yeah, kind of interesting. I guess Nyx actually is pretty well suited to deal with him. Right now, Nyx is going to be 5-1 against the 3-2 OD. I think it will get a little bit more difficult as the levels increase and more int gets stolen. But we'll keep an eye on this mid lane. At the very least, it looks like it could be a wash. I don't think Nyx is going to run away from it, run away with it, even though he will give Scandal a run for his money. And then down here, I mean, obviously, Bristleback pretty well suited to deal with the skill set of Nature's Prophet. And if NP isn't careful, and Biz grabs an early point in that Goo, which he actually has, sitting level 2, no points in Bristleback. And of course, I miss it after all of that build-up. Oh boy. So we were just talking about how Murata going to be able to survive well up in this tri-lane. Does actually get taken out.
Yeah, I did not expect that at all. It looks like
no mana.
Looks like Godlike didn't have mana for the Aphotic Shield.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. I mean, it should have been a free escape, but I guess he's having to spam a little bit more than he wants to.
It is an aggressive tri-lane, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, that's 3 casts of it he's had to spend at the moment.
So may need to find himself a little bit of mana regeneration. Maybe a Soul Ring would go a little ways. So far, the big breakout farmer in this match, though, is the Luna up top. And that is Bone7. He is 15-4, the only one in double digits of CS right now. So Luna obviously having a good time. Mirana, only 3-0, has already conceded a death, so not off to the best start. But hopefully the other lanes make up for it. Bristleback nice doing very well.
They're going to get forced back by the Visage slow.
Uh-oh, Abaddon actually going to be in some trouble here. There's the Aphotic Shield. Oh, that's a dead Abaddon. Visage going to finish him off. This is just killer. I'm a little bit surprised as well. I would have thought that these two could fare a bit better against the tri-lane, but it seems that Sadoy and Govlak are struggling a little bit here. They may need to make a rotation, and they could certainly pull this Rubik up top to have a little bit of try-on-try action. Sadoy going to get caught again. Abaddon not going to be up there with him. This is just turning into an utter disaster very quickly here, Hippie.
Yeah, I had really put my money on RoX.KiS in that lane, but SSD just proven me wrong, as they tend to do. Man, running out of mana, and then, of course, getting himself caught by that second Soul Assumption. I was surprised the Visage actually had mana to get off another one of those. That spell is so expensive early, sitting at 160 right now.
Yeah.
Looks like Zai might be in trouble. No, they're not going to catch up to him. Nice body blocks coming out from those Summoned Treants. Only reason that BCC wasn't able to catch up to him right there.
Yeah. Little surprised to see that Enchantress final ban. This is why I really thought they would ban out the Crystal Maiden, because CM can be so aggressive in lane and then just so easily move back into the jungle. Of course, Enchantress is better in the jungle, but doesn't have that same level of aggressive potential that Crystal Maiden does, I would say. She can certainly, if she gets some lucky spawns, gets good positioning, but the long range on that Crystal Nova has made these kills pretty easy here for the Dire side up top. So they will take a quick lead, 3-0 at the 4-minute mark, and already, look at that graph, 1,500 gold lead, somewhere about an 800 experience lead. 4-minute rune will go the way of Nyx Assassin. He's now level 5, going to grab himself a bottle. Visage actually going to rotate towards the mid. Now Scandal going to be in big trouble. He will take a stun, and a few more auto attacks ought to do it. They're not going to commit to it, but still they will harass back the OD. If they could have killed the OD right here, that would have been huge. Already the Nyx Assassin is doing well. If they could have set up a kill, That would have been bad news bears for sure. Now up top, Sadoy will get frostbitten once again, but the aphotic shield comes out and he will survive.
Yeah, and you can see with only the one or two lockdown spells to go before the shield, being able to get them after the shield is what I think is catching them a lot. Well, they're removing like the frostbite, or they're removing the visage slow with the aphotic shield, and then immediately the other one is getting applied by SSD. They're making sure to be very, very careful about rotating their debuffs so they can't get all of them removed at once.
Yeah.
Looks like Sadoy's just going to get pressured again.
Yeah, he does have a leap, a aphotic shield coming out, but now they're going to turn on the Abaddon. He doesn't have a shield. Oh, pardon me, he just miscoiled Sadoy. He did have a shield for himself. That was my mistake. I should have had a bigger breakfast as well.
It's all good, but
it's all good.
Dominating top lane. 32-9 for Bone 7 on that Luna.
4-0 on the Mirana.
Oh, yeah.
That's painful. That really hurts. Zai, though, down here in the bottom, maybe in some trouble. That sticky goose stacking up is going to fog into the trees. And he's going to survive again. Zai playing pretty well here. He doesn't have the easiest lane, but he's 12-2, sitting level 5. He's doing very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that bad until Bristleback gets some levels and some gear, but as he's done that now, this is when it's going to start to get terrible.
Yeah.
Because there's just nothing at all that Zai can do to pressure BZZ out of this lane, and
Yeah.
everything that BZZ can do to really, really frustrate Zai out of his farming.
Yeah, that ring of regen, pardon me, makes things a little bit more difficult, but Nature's Prophet hitting level 6 here, right around that 6.5 minute mark. That is good news. That's definitely good for the off lane. Now, Arise is looking to be a bit aggressive here. He does have a haste rune in the bottle. Look at that, Wrath and Nature. They're going to set this up onto Yol, and are they going to be able to get it, though? It doesn't look like it. Oh, he has a haste rune, though. Yol not out of the clear quite yet. He's going to sip up that bottle, just looking for an opening here. Going to check to see down. He has no idea where Yol went. He's going to move into the trees. He may finish or figure it out here. Rubik. Oh, there it is. A stun into the trees. Well played by Arise. And good coordination as well to use that Nature's Prophet ultimate right as he hit level 6 to make that kill possible. Very well done.
I honestly think it shouldn't have been that close. It took a split second for both the Rubik and the OD to react to the presence of the Nyx. I think he had time to cast the Mana Burn just to finish him off before that happened. I could be wrong, and maybe it wouldn't have finished him off, but he was very, very low on life, and I think his cast animation would have landed before that lift would have. I just don't think the reaction time was fast enough, but he got him in the end.
Yeah.
So nothing lost, really, except a little bit of farming time.
Yeah, very little bit. He did have that haste rune, which made it much easier. And now SSD going to add insult to injury up here in the top lane, already pressuring this tier 1 tower very hard. Glyph comes out, and it looks like they may want to make a hold in terms of a deny. There are 4 members of RoX.KiS up top. They will not secure the deny, and Nature's Prophet actually going to grab it. So Zai will walk away a little bit richer. Does now have phase boots to go with that magic stick. So 8 minutes in, 4 kills on the board all the way of SSD. That gold graph getting out of control very quickly here. 2,500 gold, somewhere about 1,100 experience. Not too shabby for these early levels. That'll open up Biz, a little bit of room for Biz to farm down here in the bottom lane. If we look at the net worth, he's kind of that saving grace. I mean, OD is doing pretty well, but Nyx has now overtaken him, compliments of that first tower kill, and the supports on the Dire side looking a bit more healthy in terms of net worth and probably on levels as well, and that certainly is the case. Lowest level in the game is the Abaddon, sitting level 3 right now, and highest level support is going to be that CM, and tied with 5 on the Visage. So a big disparity there in the support levels, and with the Visage on the field, that's actually a pretty big deal. The faster he gets those familiars up, the more of an impact he's going to have. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, oh, Biz, you will be destined to fall. Zai going to throw the ultimate, and they will make it happen. So Nyx Assassin picking up some momentum. This is where Nyx really starts to shine. He's got Arcane Boots, he's got Rune Control, and he's just setting up kills with that Vendetta.
Yeah, you know, you were mentioning the support levels. That was something I really thought that RoX.KiS would have an advantage on again, but SSD just outplaying them, outlaning them, doing so many things right, and making sure that they get those extra levels, even though it was a 2-1-2 versus a 3-1-1, which is pretty darn impressive, quite frankly.
One of the things that CM brings to the table, her jungling prowess is on point. And that does open up a little bit more efficiency compared to someone like an Abaddon who does not jungle nearly as well. Now, it looks like we will see a smoke here from SSD, the CM as well as the Luna, looking for an opening here in the mid lane. They may find it on Scandal. If he pokes too far forward, that smoke going to be revealed in a couple of seconds here. They've got about 10 seconds left on it. Scandal knows trickery could be afoot, but he is going to poke out. That's going to be an easy kill. Eclipse going to get burned, and down he goes. That is one dead Outworld Devourer. So now, let's recap here. SSD won the top lane. They've now kind of won the mid lane as they've shut down the OD, Nyx Assassin 3-0-0. And in that bottom lane, it's at least a wash. I mean, Furion is on point with the Bristleback at this juncture, and it's going to get even worse as they take out this tier 1 in the mid. RoX.KiS are in big trouble right here, Hippie.
Middle tower has fallen.
Decidedly so. And it looks like a Rise is going to try to chase in on Yo. The lift does go off. Lucent Beam is going to land. Not quite. Yes, they do finish off the Rubik right there. The arrow flew through from Zadoy, but nothing happened. And
just
boom!
Walking through
Abaddon blown up.
He was just like walking through the enemies, just like, hey guys! Oh, wait, we're on different teams. Like, that was what the commentary I heard in my head right there. Just like, all right, let's do this. Oh, shit. Damn it, I did it again. I have the wrong colors on. Why was he... I don't know. If he was level 6, I could see it, kind of, but it was just such an odd position. We see a Rise here going in on Scandal. Is going to burn the Spike Carapace. Just doesn't have enough damage to finish him off. A noble effort, but unfortunately not going to find it. Rise is going to pour it out. He says, all right, you burned your Astral. You got nothing else. I'm just going to pour it out to safety. Smart play. And SSD will just rotate straight into the Roche pit. Look at this beautiful strategy here. Such a good idea. RoX.KiS, they may be suspicious, but I'm not sure that they can contest it. And they will not. Roshan gonna fall. Aegis will go to Luna.
Oh, they're going in with the Mirana ultimate, though.
Moonlight Shadow. They're gonna get carried away here. Nope, not gonna find the engagement. Wow, an early Roche to boot. Right around that 11-minute mark. That's a Midas now out on the Furion. Luna going to go ahead straight into that Helm of the Dominator now that she has an Aegis. Come with me, going to be working towards an early Scepter. Nyx, probably going to grab a Force Staff, but hard to say with that staff. Oh yeah, there is the Ring of Regen, so definitely going to be a Force Staff coming out for the Nyx. A little bit surprised, actually. I would have thought that he would have just gone for the Blink here, because he's rich enough, but he's going to prefer the Force Staff.
Force Staff is safer, in general.
Yeah, that's
and
fair enough.
When you have to deal with anything that could theoretically be long range, I mean, if you're getting caught by spines, it's really hard to get a blink off as any sort of escape. You're really easily going to get chased down a lot of the time. Force Staff gives you a little bit better of a chance against all the slow that's going to be coming out from the Bristleback. And, you know, in general, Force Staff just more versatile as opposed to, if you want just positioning, of course, Blink Dagger are going to be better, but if you want positioning plus being, you know, the most versatile item in the game. And what was that Vendetta strike, by the way?
That was my noise, just like, oh my Lanta? Did it expire? Or did he actually hit the creep by accident?
I didn't see.
I didn't see either.
He didn't deal damage to the creep, so...
okay, probably just expired.
Yeah, probably just expired.
That's
the only way it could have done... Because I'm pretty sure that Vendetta breaks on attack impact, not on attack startup.
Ah, yeah.
So,
I think that's right, too.
Since he didn't get the damage off, there's no way it could have broken naturally. It had to just wear off.
Yeah, so, well, at the very least, that is going to maybe open up a little bit of room. SSD will be able to take out the last remaining Tier 1 tower in the bottom lane. Going to start pressuring this Tier 2 very heavy. We see Biz in the front lines. He's got a Vanguard up. Does have a full wand charge stack almost, just about 13 now. But not much they can do. SSD can do about half damage to this Tier 2 tower, and they're looking like they may just back out after this, feeling fairly confident. Yasha now out on Bone 7. He does have the Aegis. Looks like it may get burned right here. Indeed it will. He's got an Eclipse, though. They know it. They're going to back up straight away, and that is the smart choice. Arrow going to fly, and it does not connect. Now Biz going to take a lot of damage. Familiar's going in. There's the nuke from the Visage. Biz looking like he'll survive it. But still, they are getting zoned out here. This tower taking even more damage. A Glyph is available for RoX.KiS if they want to go for it. And they are not going to burn the Glyph, but they don't need it. SSD will just back up. They'll be happy with their spoils.
And the Nyx was actually... So the OD probably could have poured it in there if it wasn't for the fact that the Nyx was just pressuring him constantly in top lane. He actually went back in, got a stun mana burn combo, so the OD wasn't confident enough in his hit point total to be able to go and assist bottom, whereas otherwise, if he had gotten in there once they knew the Nyx wasn't on the scene, could have probably been an easy 5v4, pick up some kills.
Yeah.
Especially because Luna's gone a very, very aggressive build.
So riddle me this, Hippie. Scandal, check out that inventory. First item, Midas. Do you like it here? Are RoX.KiS so far behind that they need some radical farming tool to have a chance at recovery? I worry that Scandal's never going to come online now that he has this huge economic investment based on the aggression that SSD has put out.
I do think you hit it on the head that what he's thinking is that, crap, we're behind, I need a catch-up mechanism. Whether or not it's going to be hugely useful, he does kind of need the levels, so if he can get some good solo XP, picking up that extra bonus XP, the 2.5 bonus from the Midas, it'll be very helpful for him because he needs that level 2 ultimate to try and make things happen in team fights. I don't blame him at all for that.
Yeah.
But in general, also, I mean, if you could get something like a mech instead of that, maybe you could really help your team's teamfight potential. Especially when
Yeah.
you have the Abaddon, you know you're going to be pretty solid in terms of healing already. Start stacking that up a little, make your Bristleback particularly unkillable, let him stack up damage. Because if he's unkillable, he doesn't need a lot of damage items in the early game. He just stacks it up with Warpath.
Yeah. That's true, and I agree. I think a mech might have been a little better here because RoX.KiS need to be thinking a little bit short term. The aggression that SSD are putting on, they need to be able to take these team fights. They need to be able to defend these towers. Yeah, Rai going to be in some trouble here. He will force staff into a better position. Going to try and port out. He's going to make it. Well played by the Knicks. Smart call. Recognizing there's not a huge amount of interrupt from RoX.KiS. Will make it happen. But, yeah, I think a mech would have been a much better economic investment. He could have the mech by now. They could take these team fights a little better. But I do see where he's coming from. I certainly can empathize. I just worry that it's never really going to have the return he's looking for to let Scandal come online. Because right now, he is just so squishy. He doesn't hit hard. He doesn't hit fast. And he is an easy kill if he gets caught even remotely out of position.
Yeah, well, I think that's true of most of RoX.KiS, except for that Bristleback and maybe the Abaddon. But the Abaddon's still on level 5. It doesn't have borrowed time yet.
Yeah, he's the only one not to have an ultimate. That really hurts. That is... I mean, he's their frontline guy. I mean, I guess you could say Bristleback's their frontline guy, but Abaddon is the one they need in these team fights to hop in the front, take some of that initial damage, proc the borrowed time, and give them some sort of wiggle room to take these fights. Right now, they don't have a target. I mean, Bristleback, sure, they can go on him, but we saw in that last fight, there's only so much damage he can take. Yeah, he's got a Vanguard. Okay, great, he's got a Cloak, but Bristleback's still not the end-all, be-all of survivability, and they can certainly still take him down even if his back is turned.
Yeah, I mean, he is sitting on a good 1,400 hit points, and he's got himself a Cloak, which is very, very significant because a lot of this early damage coming out of SSD is, in fact, magic damage. But at the same time, you're right. They have a whole lot of damage. They're getting a little bit further ahead, and they could definitely pick him off, but it will be a concerted effort, I feel. And I think if he has the Abaddon nearby, actually, he will still be very, very hard to pick off with his back turned.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. He is the tankiest one for sure. And I was also thinking about at that tower, oh, we're going to hold that thought because down bottom, here we have some initiation. Sadoi going to be in trouble. Down he goes. Now Zai taking a lot of damage in return as well. Yol going to try and finish him off. Fade Bolt coming up in 5 seconds. Zai just going to stand his ground. Oh, the Force Staff to try and keep him alive. Rubik will at least make it a 1 for 2, but still not a favorable exchange for RoX.KiS. However, they do get their first kill on the board here at the 17-minute mark. That is
I was about to say that's the best exchange they've had all game.
Yeah, I mean, baby steps at this point, but I mean, this graph is just out of control. 12,000 gold lead, just about a 10,000 experience lead. I keep checking it because I'm having trouble believing, but pretty quickly becoming a believer here. Come with me, getting pretty close to this Ags already. He's got the first 3 pieces just waiting on that last 1,000 gold. Crystal Maiden, more than halfway to the mech, has the headdress as well as the buckler, just waiting for that recipe. Though, it looks like we could see a turn of events here. His Visage going to be in big trouble, nowhere for him to go. And that will be another kill on the board for SSD. Well done. That'll be a nice 500 gold bounty going the way of Bristleback, but at what cost? It'll be a Rubik down in the bottom and this tier 2 tower. So, yeah, you get a kill on the Visage, but certainly did not come for free.
I mean, again, it's better exchanges than they've been getting for most of the game, and now Next Assassin has picked up that Blink Dagger you wanted him to grab, so now he's got the Blink and the Force Staff. Unparalleled mobility to help him land those stuns. And CM might be in some trouble up there if she gets found out. I doubt she will. Oh, she's casting spells.
Yeah, they know she's in there.
They know she's there, so what's the plan there? What do they do with that?
Trying to buy some time, trying to distract. I thought maybe some ports would come in. We do see Zai chipping away at the tier 3 down here in the bottom lane. I don't know, maybe they were hoping that they would try and find CM, dive the tower, then ports could come in and they could capitalize on the overcommitment. That's sort of the best
you
that I can
do that
think
on
of.
Purpose every single time.
I do, I love it. Everyone goes crazy with the capitalize. Jesus.
It blows my mind. Other casters, I've listened to other casters talk about how they avoid saying capitalize, and you enunciate it so very clearly every time. It's a capitalize, because you know exactly what's going to happen.
I put my pinky out when I do it too, just for good measure.
You sip your tea at the same time?
Yeah, you know, I started doing the pinky out when I drink alcohol as a joke, and then I liked it so much that it stuck. And I've actually turned it on to other people now, where they're just like, yeah, dude, it's all about the pinky. So, total hipster mode, but... Double damage on Nyx Assassin. He is also level 11, so that Vendetta a little bit more potent. And looks like he may want to go for the Abaddon. Yeah, level 6 going to make it a bit more difficult. And there we go. He is going to engage. That'll proc the borrowed time. Zai going to throw his ulti. Now Arise may try and reinitiate here. Does not have vision of support, so he will back out, even though he could have secured that kill. The threat of someone being nearby was enough.
They didn't realize all the support's down bottom, going for Bone 7.
Bone 7 and Zai, he will go ahead and burn the Eclipse. Gonna do a fair bit of damage here, but there are some minions nearby. Looks like Rubik did steal the trees, and he also did actually manage to steal the Eclipse, so that is good news from RoX.KiS. They'll get a 2-for-0 exchange down at the bottom. Bristleback gonna grab both those kills, and once Yol gets a bit of mana coming up in this next team fight, he'll be able to do a fair bit of damage, but Scandal, oh no, he's gonna fall. Down he goes. Arise gonna be able to finish him off. So,
I think those trees were actually a self-tree to try and TP out, but they just got him with the AoE. But Rubik getting his hands on the Eclipse is really, really big. The level 2 Eclipse is going to be very significant if RoX.KiS can actually deliver it in a team fight. There are no BKBs up yet on this SSD team. Luna has gone for a straight Manta style. She has the money to buy an Ogre Club if she wants to, so she'll be a little tankier, but no one's going to be able to avoid any of that damage, and that's a pretty big deal when you have that Eclipse combined with you have Eclipse and Sanity's Eclipse, so you have 2 Eclipses hitting on any given fight. And if they can get in there into a good position, maybe with the Moonlight Shadow to set things up, that's a lot of potential damage that could really tear through SSD and take a team fight. The question is, can they actually find the opportunity, or is SSD going to play very, very carefully and spread out? Because that's basically what they've been doing all game is the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And also with the Nature's Prophet, there is that opportunity where in a team fight, those treants come out, and that kind of doesn't really quite render the Eclipse useless, but not particularly useful either. However, there have been some other big item pickups on the side of SSD. Level 3 Necronomicon in the inventory of the Nature's Prophet. Nyx did grab a Blink to go with that Force Staff, so he now has some pretty solid mobility items. Come with me on the Visage. Also going to be able to grab his Ag's Scepter. So now going to have an extra bird on the field. Moonlight Shadow comes out. They are going to find the Crystal Maiden, and they're going to try to engage. Arrow going to fly. Not going to be on the mark. Those CMs still going to be destined to fall, perhaps. Mech going to be used. A good bit of damage coming out. Yol looking for an opportunity here. They will finish off the Crystal Maiden. Zai going to fall now. Will SSD have an opening to try and counter-initiate? Perhaps not. Biz in the front lines. Still a 2-for-0. They might be able to finish off this Abaddon. Borrowed Time's already down. That's going to be a 2-for-2. Or 2-for-1. Jeez. Sadoy now in some trouble. Port's coming out. That's going to make it a 2-for-2. Everyone else low health. They are going to try and head for the hills. Haystroon down in the bottom position. Biz, don't know that he's going to be able to survive this one. Damage coming to his back, but they've got enough CC to finish him off. Oh, that OD going to be able to port out just in the nick of time. So after all that, still ends up being a 2-for-3 in favor of SSD. Come with me, grabbing the triple kill on the Visage.
Zai bought back to push top, so he got a little bit of damage in on that tier 3 tower.
Wow.
It was so unfortunate for Scandal that he had to spend a lot of his banishes defensively, so he wasn't able to get any of the insta going. You saw he didn't actually use the Sanity's Eclipse in that fight. And because he's a little bit behind some of these heroes on SSD, it wouldn't deal a whole lot of damage. You want to have those insta stacks stacking up during that fight so you can get that extra damage, get people screwed up. But he didn't have a single stack of imprisonment for that entire fight because he has to keep burning it defensively. So his damage output just really, really crippled by that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can get 3 or 4 stacks up, you hit really hard, and then your ult has a bigger multiplier. Not bigger multiplier, but a wider range in which it does quite a bit more damage. But when you use it defensively, you don't get to borrow the int from your allies. That's just not how it works, unfortunately. So following that fight, though...
to OD. Oh!
Whoa, Arise! Playing with fire there. He will survive. Another defensive Astral coming out. But BKB is now up on the OD. Not going to help his damage output problems, but may help his survivability a bit, as he at least, has that magic immunity. But again, Roche fell to the wrath of SSD. That is the second Roche in this game. Both of them have gone in favor of the super speedy dinosaurs. And that means Aegis in the Luna's inventory again. And he now has an Ogre Club as well.
Yeah, and she's going for that BKB. She'll have it in about 200, 300 gold? 300 gold. So that's going to be huge for her. Obviously, the OD will pretty much be neutralized as a threat when that happens. She won't have to worry about the lifts. Obviously, if there's any good spells stolen, she won't have to worry about that. And just considering the OD is really... I mean, the Bristleback Spines are doing okay, but the OD Orb is really probably still their primary good damage. Even despite the fact that he's not that farmed, that Orb can still hit really, really hard. But as soon as that BKB's up and they just focus down that, really, really underfarmed and squishy OD, it's going to be a real problem for anyone to be able to stand up to that Luna on the side of RoX.KiS.
Yeah, and one thing that Bone7 has been doing very well in this match is clearing out Ancients. We saw he cleared at least one large stack earlier, and I think maybe one other as he's been continuing to manage his Ancients. And that's part of the reason his net worth is so high, despite not having a Midas or any sort of crazy farming tool. It's just all that tower gold mixed with his pretty solid farm, and then being able to utilize the Ancients as well. Looks like a little bit of split push coming out from SSD. Zai going to be in the top on that Nature's Prophet, continuing to be an irritant. And SSD, the rest of them going to be pressuring this mid tier 2 tower. The last remaining tier 2 tower. Long range arrow will connect with Bone7. Rubik going to come in. He is going to steal a Lucent Beam. Meanwhile, in the top lane, though, Biz in big trouble. He's out of mana. He's got an Aphotic Shield on, but we will see the Crystal Maiden burn a Freezing Field. Not going to be enough for the kill. The support's going to be there. And neither side going to concede a death. Moonlight Shadow comes out. RoX.KiS posturing for some aggression, perhaps. Not going to find it, though, and they will just retreat. Mirana getting close to that BKB. Has the Mithril Hammer as well as the Ogre Club. So BKB's aplenty coming out, Hippie. I guess RoX.KiS showing us they're not out of it yet, but if I could whistle, I would do that whistle where you go high and then go low. That gold graph, 20k in favor of SSD. Experience graph pretty comparable at 14.
Yeah, it's a pretty massive difference, decidedly.
Yeah.
Getting the BKBs will definitely help. They won't have to worry about the Crystal Maiden, the Nyx quite as much anymore. Obviously, the Eclipse will be a lot less potent, but the Luna is not any sort of slouch on her physical damage dealing. She's swinging for over 200 right now. Has the Manta Style, she has the Life Leech. She's got her BKB already, so she can go for damage items safely. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Butterfly come out of her next. And that will, not only give her a lot of damage, but also negate a good chunk of the auto attacks that the Bristleback and the OD will be putting out in her general direction. And the pressure from Zai, you mentioned it during the last fight, the split pushing pressure is really quite significant because SSD feels pretty comfortable engaging 4v5, letting Zai push out, and then just pretty safely disengaging because the damage output from RoX.KiS isn't high enough. They can generally disengage with very few casualties if things aren't going their way. They're not really worried about getting chased down too crazily, and that's pretty impressive considering there's a Bristleback who is an incredibly good chaser.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zai, he's just going from lane to lane, continuing to press them in. RoX.KiS looking like they will group up for a bit of tier 1 tower pushing in the mid lane, but Zai is already at it again, chipping away at that tower in the top lane. Arrow going to be off the mark once again. Double damage room picked up by Nyx Assassin. He's ready to join the fight. Luna in big trouble, still has the Aegis though, so she'll pop right back up. And now this fight going to start. OD going to get caught by the Nyx, a double stun. He's also going to catch Sadoy, and they'll both survive for now, but there's the Eclipse coming out. That'll be enough to kill the Rubik, and it looks like Biz, well, he's going to take a lot of damage. He will survive for now. Mirana going to fall, and don't forget the Nature's Prophet doing some damage while all this is going about. That tier 3 in the top lane is down. Bristleback falls. He'll buy back. That was a 4-for-0, and that was a 4 versus 5 in the mid lane. Zai was not there for any of it. May have thrown an ultimate, but that was all he had. Oh, he is going to fall as he gets finished off by the Mist Coil, but still going to be a
Wrath
4
of the
versus 2.
Railgun.
Yeah, the Wrath of the Railgun, man.
Yeah, I mean, as you were rightly pointing out, 4v5, they may have had the Aegis, but at the same time...
And a DD.
Still... Oh, they did have a DD.
DD on Nyx and Aegis on Luna,
well,
so
then.
it was kind of a 4v5.
At least it wasn't DD on Luna.
Yeah.
Because that would have been so much worse. But still, pretty darn brutal what they just had to go through.
Yeah. And now Bone7 just going to pop the BKB, going to finish off the melee racks, and they will turn in about face. So a very convincing team fight. They don't want to overstay their welcome. Biz is going to pursue pretty heftily out of the base. I don't know if that's the word I was looking for. Nice freezing field coming out from Go Black there with that silly name that he's got. Won't be enough, and he will pay for it, but will open up a little bit of room. I was going to say for his teammates to get out, but come with me. He's still in the danger zone as he does port out to safety. So we're going to minimize their losses there a bit. 8-19. Gold graph continuing in the favor of SSD. Now upwards of close to 25,000 gold. 20,000 experience. The lead just continues to grow. Look at that net worth chart. That is a lot of red floating up towards the top.
Yeah, and having a Rax down when you still have... You've only lost... SSD has lost one outer tower. They're tier 1 top. And there is a Rax down, and every outer tower is down for RoX.KiS. And they have a big gold advantage, and I feel like they have a decent carry advantage. I wouldn't say... I mean, Bristleback plus OD is pretty strong. I wouldn't say Luna necessarily outcarries that, but with the additional split push pressure coming in from the Nature's Prophet, I think Luna could trade reasonably evenly, because if you commit to kill that Luna and if you take that big fight, you're going to lose a lot of heroes to the just absolute raw damage that Luna puts out. And in the meantime, if Furion feels like the fight isn't going their way, he just turns and takes a Rax. So
Yeah.
it's pretty solid, even if things are going evenly. And the fact that they're so far ahead, it's looking really, really grim for RoX.KiS. 17-5 on that Luna.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
So, already we see what's happening here. I don't know why I said already, but RoX.KiS pressure that tier 1 in the mid lane. They do finish it off. And Zai is just right back to it, chipping away at that tier 3 down in the bottom. Rubik going to fall in this fight in the mid. It's going to be same story, different chapter. Now Biz in a little bit of trouble. Luna going to pop the BKB. Eclipse ready, just looking for the opening. There's, well, is going to be able to use it. Going to be able to burn the Manta as well. Not the best Eclipse we've seen, but still going to scatter the forces of RoX.KiS, and they are going to be able to clean it up. Abaddon going to fall. Scandal going to get taken out, and I think this is going to be GG here. I mean, RoX.KiS don't have much left. They burned their buybacks in their last skirmish, and they have nothing in the way of buybacks except for Abaddon. And needless to say, I don't know how much that is going to help. They do have low heroes on SSD, Mirana, as well as the Rubik, the lone defenders. But this pushing power from SSD is just so much. They have no glyph. Zai's got that level 3 Necro book. Alright, I may have misspoke. Not going to be that GG I was thinking, but another very convincing team fight in favor of SSD. I thought they were going to be able to break racks there a bit more convincingly.
Luna's got her butterfly now. It's coming out. Furion has a Scythe of Vice, so they just spiked and striked a little bit.
Yeah, just a little.
Roche is going to respawn in 2 minutes, so they'll probably just wait for that Aegis cheese and take it off of that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, yeah, they probably could have gotten a Rax right there, but it would have been really, really costly because they were also low health. They probably would have lost the Luna in the process, even though she would have been able to DPS down at the very least the tower and probably the Rax. It just wasn't worth it to try and go any further right there. But as soon as they have another Aegis, easy peasy. Win a team fight, take the high ground.
Too easy for SSD. Yeah, that butterfly.
Super speedy.
Too easy for super speedy. Look
They
at you.
see, one of their stand-ins has to be Arteezy, and then we could finally drop too easy for Arteezy for the first time since MLG. It would have made me so happy if I could finish this day with too easy for Arteezy.
I've been waiting for that day for a long time to steal the Velant line. And I'm not sure if you noticed this, but Come With Me actually has an Assault Kuros on that Visage, so he's got a pretty good bit of farm himself. He's also 11-1-3.
He's pretty frightening.
Yeah, frightening is a good word.
Right now.
Level 2 Dagon now for the Nyx Assassin. So he's getting a little bit more bursty, and it's going to be some power treads coming out for old Visage. And Roshan up in about 1:15. I think SSD can abide their time. They may sort of pale or fake a little bit of pressure here. You know, keep them isolated in the base, make them feel threatened. And if they can take a fight, sure, they'll go for it. And if they can't, well, then they'll just rotate into Roche here in about 60 seconds. No problem with that. And they will clear out the Radiant jungle as well. Let's look at some ward coverage. Oops, that was 3, not F3. And we see some nice aggressive wards here around that top lane and the mid. And I'm sure they'll rotate down bottom. Looks like they could have had one up on the plateau. It was counter-warded by our Radiant side. Not going to throw it up there. They will put it in the high ground, sort of a comparable location outside of the plateau.
Yeah, less commonly counter-warded. Of course, it gives you a little bit less of an advantage when you're trying to push up the mid lane. But, you know, plenty of sight on the bottom lane, and of course, much, much less common of a ward spot, so you're not going to get found nearly as quickly.
Arise in big trouble. He will arise from the dead, as he is going to get that first-class ticket back to the well. Little bit of hyper-aggression there coming out from the Nyx. The Nyx. Not sure why 6 popped out of my mouth, but that bottom tier 3 tower is going to be kaput as Zai continues to pressure. Look at the ports coming in. They really want to clear up those Necronomicon units.
They're scary, man. They do a lot of freaking damage. You ever been hit by those things?
Once
They're
or twice.
terrifying.
Once or
They're
twice.
pretty terrifying. In real life, they just burn away all your mana. You can't cast anymore.
Yeah, they're pretty scary. But slow siege from SSD. They have so much map control, and they can just continue to shove into that bottom lane. Now those racks are exposed. Just going to be that one last tier 3 tower in the mid. Really just feels like a matter of time here for RoX.KiS. They're still falling behind in farm. There's just nowhere for them to go. They can't leave their base. They can't contest anything. This is going to be a free Roshan, no doubt about it. I think RoX.KiS, before they... it's going to go down before they can even get here. Looks like they are going to make a rotation up towards the pit. But with that medallion, Roche falls very quickly. And there you go. He's going to be down before they make it. Arrow will connect. Onto the Crystal Maiden. She's going to come out. Who's going to snag it? It will be Zai. He's going to pick it up on the Nature's Prophet. And no doubt about it, each is going to go the way of the Luna. who has more than enough gold for buyback here. So they're going to have to kill this Luna potentially 3 times coming up. Sodoi going to get engaged on. Zai going to port forward. Will use the Sheep 6 to start things off. Mirana going to pop the BKB. Won't be enough to keep her alive. That's a dead Mirana before the fight even starts. Now Bone 7 going to be initiated on here. Needs to be a little bit careful. Again, does have an Aegis. Will just burn it straight away. Rest of the team going to come in. Scandal going to get crowd controlled. And nuke from the Visage. Not going to be enough. Compliments of that Aphotic Shield. Now Yol going to be left behind. He's going to fall. Biz going to turn into the target of choice for SSD. Aphotic Shield going to help keep him alive for now, but still not looking good. Buyback scenario going to be pretty grim for RoX.KiS. They're bristleback. They're one last stand. He's trying to stack up those quills. The Eclipse comes out. Borrowed time going to keep the Abaddon up, but it won't be enough to keep that last remaining Tier 3 tower standing. The Glyph comes out. Mid lane of Rax taking heavy damage. Those bouncing glaives doing some serious work here about the buildings. It is a 5v3 in this engage. Biz did buy back. OD with the BKB on. Still has Ascenity's Eclipse. Not going to find an opportunity to use it quite yet. Now they'll just turn on to Biz. That is a dead Bristleback. That is a dead Abaddon. And that is also a dead OD. No GGs. Well, a couple of GGs. Some DCs. And that's going to be it. So, this is a little bittersweet here, Hippie. A good game from SSD, no doubt. But what does this mean for our round robin? We can no longer just cross our fingers and hope for the best. The shit has hit the fan. RoX.KiS now going to be 12-5. That takes SSD to 11-5, and Fnatic are currently 10-5. So we are looking at a potential 4-way tie break for that 4th slot in the top 4 to move on to the LAN finals. next.kz, the other team in the mix, they're 9-5, and they still have a lot of games coming up tomorrow and the next day. Shit just got real, man.
If the tiebreaker is to occur, Next can't possibly be a part of it, because they're playing SSD. So if SSD is in the tiebreaker, then Next is not.
Okay, all right. So it's a 3-way tiebreak. Those two will sort it out. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. You did that. Well, that's a good call.
I think. Okay, so if we're assuming that SSD can't actually advance to the LAN stages and they just get kind of shoved outwards, then what it comes down to now, making that assumption, which I am not sure is true. So please don't quote me on that, people in chat.
I don't know that it's confirmed one way or another.
If Fnatic wins out and SSD is not a factor, Fnatic goes in over RoX.KiS because they won the head-to-head.
Okay. So Fnatic would go in. All right, so...
Fnatic is against the retry and flip side, so that's a reasonable chance they're going to win out if they play well.
There is actually hope for Fnatic to make it in the top 4. I did not think that was going to happen based on their last day, but this makes things a little bit more interesting. If RoX.KiS had won this, we would know our top 4, and that would be pretty much it. But this throws a wrench into the mix, so wowza. I'm a little bit surprised. Well played by SSD, though. That was a really well-executed game.
Very, very solid game, absolutely.
Very well done. That OD going to end 0-5-3. Harsh game for Scandal. Really was. Gonna start bringing that up now. When you see an OD pick, Nyx Assassin, he really does do quite well against OD. We saw him give him a run for his money. So, all right, guys. Well, that is our coverage for today. I am Zyori. With me today was Hippie. Make sure you follow us both on Twitter at ZyoriTV and at HippieCasting. It's in the title of this broadcast. We appreciate you guys joining us here on Beyond the Summit. There will be a stream tomorrow starting an hour early, 16 CET. For day 28 coverage. There will be 4 matches, and I will be joined by Fogged. So that should be a good bit of fun. Hippie, as always, my friend, thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure, and I don't know if we'll see you again in the Starladder Season 8 round robin, because LD is going to be taking over on Sunday, so this might be your last Starladder Season 8 match, my friend.
Hey, it has been an absolute blast. Thank you to you for having me on. Thank you to Beyond the Summit for letting me cast on their channel. Thank you to everyone in chat and on the stream for, enjoying the casts. Love all of you. Take it easy.
And we're out. See you later, Seacrest. All right, guys, take care. We'll see you tomorrow.